stream now. It is 5:09 p.m. right now. Although I actually want to say 17 hours and 9 minutes. That's much better for me because I used to. Now that is screen of Zoom over there. Now. It is 5:09 p.m. right now. I'm going to turn off this one. All right, so let's check out the news. So I'm going to meanwhile double check over here just before. I'm supposed to go first on private, I believe, so, and then put it on public. Now I can see live coverage of that hurricane Helene. Helene or Helene? Yeah. So let's see if in my other computer actually double check the live events, 5 o'clock news. I'm from Eastern Canada. I say that. Helene or Helene? Yeah. Yeah. I got it. Now we're going to read the news from NPR News. Now I'm going to put a zoom, for example, like this, and I'm going to, whoa, this is already 200. Now 300. No. Well, I guess now there is some news I want to start with. This one. This one is the son of Trump's alleged would-be assassin as charged over child sex abuse image. Let's check it out. This is the seal of the Department of Justice. The picture Ryan Routh was arrested on charges of possession and received a child sexual abuse image. On the same day, his father, Ryan Routh, was charged with attempted assassination of former President Donald Trump. As Ryan Routh faced mounting charges over the attempted assassination of former President Donald Trump at his Florida golf course earlier this month, his adult son has been arrested in connection with a completely different set of alleged misdeeds. Ryan Routh, 35, was charged in a North Carolina federal court on Monday with 1 count each of receipt and possession of image of child sexual abuse, court records show. He was arrested the following day. An FBI special agent laid out the basis of the charges and a 4-page criminal complaint in which he explains that FBI researcher Ryan Routh Greensboro, North Carolina residence on Saturday in connection with an investigation unrelated to child exploitation. It is not clear whether the investigation in question is related to Routh's father, though ABC News and CNN cite unnamed sources as saying so. A spokesperson for the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Middle District of North Carolina declined to elaborate beyond court filings. Once at the court at the house in which Routh is the sole occupant, they recovered multiple electronic devices from his room and person and later obtained a warrant to search them. On one phone, which had seen the store inside a laptop bag, they found hundreds of files with child sexual abuse, including videos from a no child pornography series created outside the state of North Carolina. Videos from the unnamed series depicted minors engaged in sex acts, according to the complaint. A second phone taken from Routh himself revealed more. On the download folder, investigators found a video showing a female adult engaging in sexual act with a younger girl, apparently 8 years old. The complaint says the phone also has chats from a messaging application that is commonly used by people who distribute and receive child sex abuse imagery. It points to a July chat in which the phone's user presumably wrote, respond to an account that was advertising a cloud storage link for sale by asking for a preview of the content. That individual responds with 2 graphic videos of adults engaging in sexual acts with minors. The public defender listed in court filing as representing Routh as not responding to NPR's request for comment. Routh appeared in court for a preliminary hearing Wednesday. Prosecutors are asking that he been detained pending trial. He has a detention hearing scheduled for the afternoon of October 1st. Records from the North Carolina Department of Adult Corrections show that Routh was arrested in 2016 in charge of assaulting a female and interfering with emergency communications, both misdemeanor. A LinkedIn account belonging to a person by the name of Ryan Routh lists him as a customer service representative at Xerox Business Services and mentions many years working for My Family Businesses. His dad, Ryan Routh, ran a roofing business in North Carolina at one point and more recently owned a company that built tiny homes in Hawaii, whose website predominantly features another son, Adam. He is facing 5 charges in connection with the Florida incidents, including 3 weapons charges, assaulting a federal officer, and, as of Tuesday, attempting to assassinate the presidential candidate, which carries a maximum sentence of life in prison. Orr publicly came to his dad's defense after his arrest last week, saying in a statement that I don't have any comment beyond the character profile of him as a loving and caring father and an honest, hardworking man, he said. So there is another connection. For example, this one over here, I'm interested to read a little bit more about this guy. Who is Ryan Routh? What to know about the suspect in the Trump golf course incidents? We are actually reading something from NPR News. This photo taken on Independence Square in Kiev on June 22nd shows Ryan Wesley Routh sticking the national flags of the country, helping Ukraine. There you are. You got it. Look at this guy and Ukraine and Kiev, right? And Kiev. The man arrested in connection with what the FBI is calling an apparent attempt assassination of former President Donald Trump has a lengthy criminal record and recent fake section on global politics, particularly Russia's war in Ukraine. The suspect, when local officials identified as Ryan Wesley Routh, was taken into custody on Sunday afternoon on Interstate 95 near West Palm Beach, Florida, after what authorities said was possible an attempt of Trump's life at his golf club, which will be the second attack in the last 9 weeks. Secret Service has said an agent who was stationed on one hole ahead of Trump, the Trump International Golf Club, West Palm Beach, spotted a rifle sticking out of the fence. Suspect found the rifle was hiding in the shrubbery some 300 to 500 yards away from the Republican presidential nominee. The agent opened fire on Routh, but Routh took off on a black Nissan, which authorities located on the highway a short while later, thanks to an eyewitness tip. He left behind a lower rifle with scope, as well as a digital camera, a backpack, and a plastic bag of food, according to the unsealed criminal complaint. Routh said on fire was his gun and did not have Trump as his line of sight. Secret Service Acting Director Ryan Routh said on Monday. The complaint cites cell phone data that suggests Routh has been in the vicinity of the golf course for roughly 12 hours from 1:59 a.m. ET to about 1:31 p.m. ET, when the agent noticed the rifle through the fence. Authorities said it's not clear how long Routh, a long-time North Carolina resident who most recently lived in Hawaii, has been in Florida. They believe he acted alone. Routh has been charged with possession of the firearms as a felon and possession of the firearm with an obligatory serial number. His first appearance in the West Palm Beach federal courtroom Monday morning, Routh, wearing a navy blue prison jumpsuit and shackles, appeared subdued, respectful, and in good spirits. He could be seen laughing at times with his federal public defender. The judge told Routh he qualified for a federal public defender because you have a little or no assets. Routh said he has zero funds and no saving, and he reported making an income of $3,000 a week, but didn't specify the source. He said he owns 2 trucks in Hawaii and helps support his 25-year-old son. Routh will remain in custody until his arraignment on September 30. Public Records self-published a book and the previous interviews have painted a picture of the 50-year-old man as a supporter turned critic of Trump, who was passionate about defending Ukraine and his war with Russia and even traveled there in the hopes of taking up the fight. Here's what we know about him so far. He has a criminal record dating back decades. Routh spent most of his adulthood in North Carolina before moving to Hawaii in recent years. His LinkedIn page said he pursued a mechanical engineer degree at North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University from 1995 to 1998. But the university told NPR via email that Routh only attended 2 semesters nearly 30 years ago. He did not earn a degree from the university and was last enrolled in December 1995, wrote Director of Media Relations Jackie Toro. Routh was hailed a super citizen, if not a superhero, by the Greensboro News and Record in 1991 after he fought a suspected rapist and assisted his arrest, which earned him an Academy Award-shaped law enforcement's Oscar from the Greensboro chapter of the International Union of Police Association. But record from the North Carolina Department of Adult Correction showed that Routh has a long history of getting in trouble with the law himself, including a 2002 conviction of felony charges of possessing a weapon of mass destruction. All right, so check it out. Well, okay, we keep reading this December 2002 story on the Greensboro News and Record recount an incident in which Routh was pulled over during a traffic stop on a Sunday night. He put his hand on a firearm and drove his roofing business where he barricaded himself inside for 3 hours. The weapon of mass destruction charge pertaining to a fully automatic machine gun, the newspaper report. Jeffrey Beltry, the special agent in charge of the FBI's office in Miami, told reporters on Monday that Routh has been the subject of a 2019 tip to the FBI alleging he was a felon in possession of a firearm. He says the agency investigated that tip, but the person who allegedly made the complaint could not verify providing the initial information. Routh was charged with several other misdemeanors and felonies between 2001 and 2010, including a hit-and-run offense, carrying and concealing weapons, and possessing stolen goods. Separately, North Carolina judicial records list Routh as a defendant and over half a dozen court cases between 1991 and 2016, including tax delinquencies and bad checks. Routh wrote on his LinkedIn page that he has passed along any meager remnants of myself in North Carolina and relocated to Ohio. He was lived and worked in Hawaii since 2018, according to the Honolulu Star Advertiser, which cited public records. The paper cited law enforcement sources as saying that Honolulu police record of 4 interactions with Rhodes, 2 in 2019, including an incident where he and others allegedly squatted on property, and another 2 in 2021, when Rhodes reported being assaulted by a resident whose home was working as a handyman. Rhodes described himself as the owner of Camp Box Honolulu, a company that builds portable storage units and tiny homes. We cannot sit idle, as some of our friends and neighbors around us struggle when we ourselves are smart enough to create our own solutions to our own problems. The company's website read, using common sense and American ingenuity and the resources that we have, together we can create our own happy places, he said. There's a picture of the guy. Yeah. Ryan Wesley wrote, seen here in a scream crowd from a rally held in central Kiev in April 2022, was identified as the suspect of what federal officials said was an apparent assassination attempt against former President Donald Trump in Florida. He once supported Trump, but recently donates to Democrats. North Carolina voting record list wrote as unaffiliated with any party, though they also show that he voted in person in the Democratic primary election in March 2024. He is also listed as having a vote in the general elections in 2008 and 2012, as well as municipal elections in 2009. Rhodes has a history of donating to political causes, as Federal Election Commission's records show. He donated to a Democratic fundraising platform, ActBlue, nearly 20 times, in amounts ranging from $1 to $25 between September 2019 and March 2020. In a 2023 self-published book, Routh referred his former support for Trump, writing that he must take part of the blame for electing Trump as president. But I am man enough to say that I misjudged and made a terrible mistake. In the book, he referred to the January 6, 2021 Capitol insurrection as a catastrophe perpetrated by Donald Trump and his undemocratic push. Routh's 291-page book, Ukraine's Unwinnable War, The Fatal Flaw of Democracy, World's Abandonment, and the Global Citizen, Taiwan, Afghanistan, North Korea, WW3, and the End of Humanity, covers a topic that seems to have consumed Routh in recent years. Routh has expressed a strong support for Ukraine in the aftermath of Russia's full-fledged invasion in early 2020, and he was on a mission to get foreigners, himself included, to the front lines. His goal was to fight for freedom and human rights, he wrote in his book. Routh traveled to the Ukrainian capital of Kyiv that year, but was told, given his age and lack of military experience, that he was not an ideal candidate, as he told Newsweek Romania in 2022. So plan B was to come here to Kyiv and promote getting more people here, he said. Since then, he has used social media to encourage and attempt to recruit foreigners to fight in Ukraine, and he has spoken about those efforts in media interviews. Wrote for the New York Times in March 2023 that he was seeking recruits among Afghan soldiers who fled the Taliban, aiming to purchase passports through Pakistan, since it's such a corrupt country, and move them, in some cases illegally, into Ukraine and from Pakistan and Iran. The Times described Routh as a former construction worker from Greensboro, North Carolina, who spent several months in Ukraine last year. That same month, he complained to Semaphore about the Ukrainian government's lack of support, saying it was being overly rigid about admitting foreign soldiers, especially from Afghanistan, over concerns that they might be Russian spies. I have had a partners meeting with Ukraine's Minister of Defense every week and still have not been able to get them to agree to issue one single visa, said Routh, who was identified by Semaphore as the head of the International Volunteer Center in Ukraine, a private organization which helped foreigners seeking to assist the war efforts connect with military units and aid groups. A representative from Ukraine's Foreign Legion told CNN that Routh has reached out to it several times online, but was never part of the Legion and did not cooperate with us in any way. The best way to describe his message is delusional ideas, said Ocular Stragori, an officer of the Foreigners Coordination Department of the Land Forces Command. He was offering us large number of recruits from different countries, but it was obvious to us his offers were not realistic. We did not even answer. There was nothing to answer to. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky condemned the apparent assassination attempts against Trump in an expose on Monday, saying political violence has no place anywhere in the world. When asked about the incident on Monday, Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov said it shows that playing with fire has consequences, and apparent reference to U.S. support for Ukraine. One of Routh's sons, Adam, told Reuters immediately after the incident that it was not something he believed his father would do. Another, Oren, told CNN that it's not like his father do anything crazy, much less violent. I don't have any comments beyond a character profile of him as a loving and caring father, an honest, hardworking man, Oren Broad said on a statement. This is Radio News. You are watching Omar Global Radio News. All right, let's go and check it out on the news from the NPR. There's our sources today. It seems like there is something that's going on in southern United States, specifically in the area of Georgia, Florida, and other state, Kansas as well. Seems like Helene, I think is the proper pronunciation of this name, Helene or Helene. Helene, I think is the name of the forecast that the storm is coming up to the Gulf of Mexico and probably tomorrow will reach Florida, they said. And is broadcasting like from the side, from Florida area, live on YouTube. I checked it out earlier. You see the big map over here, you got a lot of state actually, Texas, as well as, Tennessee as well, North Carolina, South Carolina, Washington area as well, cover a great area, especially in the south of Florida. You can see, check it out. Now, Helene has strengthened into a hurricane center in the Gulf of Mexico. Forecasters said late Wednesday morning they warned that it's poised to continue intensifying as it hurls toward Florida, where it's expected to make a landfall on Thursday, tomorrow. Member stations across NPR networks are covering the local impact of Hurricane Helene across the southern and eastern United States. The storm is expected to bring life-threatening storm surge, damage winds, and flooding rains to a large portion of Florida and the southeastern United States, according to the National Hurricane Center. Preparation to protect life and property should be completed by early Thursday since tropical storm conditions are expected to begin with this area on Thursday, the NHC said. Helene, which reached a tropical storm, started shortly after forming in the northwestern Caribbean Sea on Tuesday. Is forecast to bounce between the Yucatan Peninsula and the western part of Cuba on Wednesday. As of 11 a.m. ET, the center was about 500 miles south of west of Tampa, Florida, and its maximum sustaining winds were 80 miles per hour, which makes it a Category 1 hurricane. Forecasters warned that the storm, fueled by abnormally warm Wolf waters, will get even stronger before it reaches land. It could reach maximum sustaining winds of 125 miles per hour by late Thursday, which will make it a Category 3 hurricane. There is still some uncertainty on exactly how strong Helene will get, and upward adjustments to the forecast intensity could be required as subsequent advisories if Helene rapidly intensifies more than the forecast. They said, regardless, Helene is forecast to be a large major hurricane when it reaches the Big Bend coast of Florida. The NHC said the large size of Helene, with tropical storm force winds stretching 400 miles across, was the danger of life-threatening storm surge along the entire west coast of the Florida Peninsula and Florida's Big Bend, the northern region where the Panhandle meets the peninsula, which is where the highest inundation levels are expected. The combination of the dangerous storm surge and the time will cause normally dry areas near the coast to be flooded by rising waters moving inland from the shoreline, said, warning that the Ochoalclean River could see a peak surge as high as 10 to 15 feet. Forecasters also warned damaging hurricane force winds along portions of the Big Bend. But they said the impact may be felt far outside the cone, with wind hazard extending significantly inland. While Hurricane Stevie awakening quickly after long fall, Helene may remain a hurricane for 12 hours or more as it burrows north, threatening trees and power lines in areas far from the coast that may not be used to strong tropical systems. There are concerns about flooding, but just along Florida's shoreline, but also far inland from Atlanta to the Carolinas. As of midday Wednesday, a hurricane warning is in effect for part of Florida from the Atlantic River to Mexico Beach, meaning hurricane conditions are expected between 36 hours. A hurricane watch is in effect from Inglewood to Atlantic River, including Tampa Bay, signaling that hurricane conditions are possible within 48 hours. Tropical storm warnings are also in effect for the upper Florida Keys, southern Florida Peninsula, and northeast coast of Florida. The NHC has also extended them westward along the Florida Gulf Coast and northwards along the Georgia and South Carolina coasts. The National Weather Service said Wednesday is the last full day for people to prepare for the storm. This including making an emergency kit, reviewing an emergency plan, and signing up for local weather alert. People should also check whether they live in an evacuation zone. According to the state's Division of Emergency Management, more than 20 Florida counties were either under voluntary or mandatory evacuation orders as for Wednesday morning. The division is also offering assistance in getting people into shelters in the Big Bend region. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis declared a state of emergency for 61 counties out of 67 on Tuesday, allowing officials to make resources available before the storm. President Biden also approved the emergency declaration. DeSantis tweeted that Florida has 18,000 linemen and counting the stage, as well as search and rescue and roadway clearing crews at the ready. As always, Florida will prepare for the worst and hope for the best, he adds. The Tampa International Airport announced it will close and suspend all flights starting at 2 a.m. Thursday and will reopen to the public on Friday following a damage assessment. Several institutions of higher education, including the University of Florida, Florida State University, and Florida A&M University, are canceling classes and closing their campuses on Thursday and, in some cases, through the weekend. NASA and SpaceX are delaying a launch that was supposed to send crew members to the International Space Station on Thursday. Instead, they said it will happen no sooner than Saturday. Current model of Helene and the path showed the storm moving inland, passing through Georgia and part of Alabama, Tennessee, and Kentucky through the weekend. Even though the storm is due to make landfall in Florida, officials warn that these areas will likely see significant rainfall, winds, and power outage too. The NHC warns that devastating hurricane force winds are expected across part of the northern Florida and southern Georgia as the center of the storm travels away from the coast. Because of Helene's expected fast forward speed, damaging and life-threatening wind gusts are expected to penetrate well inland over portions of the southeastern United States, including the higher terrain of the southern Appalachians, it said. A tropical storm watch is in effect for the Southern Carolina coast, north of the Savannah River. We don't normally issue tropical storm watches for inland, especially here over the Appalachian area, National Hurricane Center Deputy Director Jeremy Round said during a midday briefing. That is unusual. You really need to pay attention. From Wednesday through Friday, potentially life-threatening flash flooding and urban flooding are expected across part of Florida, the southeast, the southern Appalachian, and the Tennessee Valley. This included the risk of landslides across the southern Appalachians, the NHC says. The National Weather Service has already issued a rare high risk of excessive rainfall notice for the southern Appalachians on Thursday, warning of rain total from 5 to 10 inches. It said tornadoes will occur Wednesday night over part of the western Florida peninsula and southern Alabama, with the risk increasing on Thursday and expanding across Florida and into part of Georgia and South Carolina. Georgia Governor Brian Kemp has declared a state of emergency, and officials there are warning on a fast-moving storm that could bring rainfall statewide, as well as high winds and significant power outage in certain areas. The Georgia Emergency Management and Homeland Security Agency is telling residents to shelter in place and be ready to leave without power for at least 72 hours. Even farther north, North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper declared a state of emergency on Wednesday afternoon, citing Helene's potential to seriously disrupt essential utility services and systems. In addition, South Carolina Governor Henry McMaster declared a state of emergency in preparation for Helene's potential effect. In a statement, McMaster urged South Carolinians to monitor forecasts and take precautions before the storm. This state of emergency ensured that Team South Carolina has the necessary resources in place to respond to this potential impact, McMaster said. Although South Carolina will likely avoid the brunt of Hurricane Helene's impact, the storm is still expected to bring dangerous flooding, high winds, and isolated tornadoes to many parts of the state, he added. This is NPR Radio News. So it is now 17 hours and 43 minutes, and we are going to check it out another news from the source. We are reading that right now. I want to see something from, the elections. I want to see election stuff. Now, what's going on with the campaign? We already did something something that related to the guy who attempted to kill, assassination attempts to Trump in golf course. His son was charged for possessing sexual contained materials in his telephone. But right now we try to reach something from the the politics, the campaign, and now we check it out. This over here, a new polls a young voter showed Harris with a commanding 31-point lead over Trump. Watch up! NPR is a local public radio station, national public radio station. Is from the government. This radio. Now here is Madame Kamala Harris in the picture with students. Vice President Harris speaks to student volunteers during a stop in a community college in Philadelphia during the voter registration training season in Philadelphia. Yes. President Biden had a young people problem. Vice President Harris may not. In a new poll from the Harvard Kennedy School's Institute of Politics, Harris holds a 31-point lead over former President Donald Trump among likely voters aged 18 to 29. The poll released Tuesday shows Harris ahead of Trump 61% to 30% in a matchup that included third-party candidates among only registered voters. Harris' lead drops slightly, but Trump still trailed her by 23%. The finding represents a marked improvement for Democrats since Harvard's spring youth poll, which found Biden ahead of Trump by 13 percentage points among likely voters and just 7 percentage points among registered voters under 30. At the time, young left-leaning Americans around the country told NPR they were unhappy with their presidential options. This poll revealed a significant shift of the overall vibe and preference of young Americans as the campaign hit into the final stretch. John Della Bolt, the polling director of the Institute of Politics, said in a statement, Gen Z and young millennials highlighted an enthusiasm signal a potentially decisive role for the youth vote in 2024. It is a promising sign for Harris, who is backing a high level of youth support. Voters under 30 played a decisive role in several key battleground states with tight margin of 2020 and overall vote for Biden by the 24-point margin nationwide. The latest poll, which surveyed more than 2,000 individuals under 30 from September 4 through September 16, underscores a noticeable shift and engagement after Harris took over the ticket. Political strategists point to spikes in voter registrations in the week Biden dropped out of the race, with the highest numbers coming from young Americans, especially women and women of color. While it's unclear who those individuals may ultimately vote for, these are groups that tend to vote for Democrats, and that interest, particularly among young women, is reflected in the latest Harvard Youth poll. In the spring poll, young female likely voters sided with Biden over Trump by 22 points, but in this later survey, their support for Harris is even more pronounced with a margin of 47 points. Harris also increased support among young men, but at comparatively lower rates. Biden held just a 5-point lead in the spring. Under Harris, is a rise into 17 points. What is more, an increased amount of young Democrats also say they will definitely vote for this fall, moving from 66% in the spring to 74% in the latest survey. Republicans have less interest in their spring poll, 64% committed to voting versus 60% now. Roughly a third of independents say they will definitely vote, which is a drop from 4 years ago at this time, linked with Harris' rise in enthusiasm following the launch of her presidential campaign, was a series of viral internet memes remixes her past comments and speeches It is a star. The campaign went on to embrace digital organizing and social media. Despite the likes and shares, the poll found that half of the young Americans feel that memes about Harris had no effect on their opinion of her. And 6 in 10 also said memes about Trump has no effect on their views on him. On the issues, the poll found that young Americans continue to trust Trump at higher rates on topics relating to the economy, national security, immigration, and the Israel-Hamas war, but his edge and razor thin and just a few percentage points. Harris holds wide leads on issues related to climate change, abortion, and education. And despite trailing Trump in certain issues, Harvard researchers argue that Harris has increased trust among voters overall compared to Biden. It's pretty much across the board on every issue, say Harvard student Annie Kokotkar, who chairs the Harvard Public Opinion Project. We are seeing a move toward Harris, she said. And this is the 5 o'clock radio news. It is 5:50 right now. Appreciate your attention, and you guys have a good time. Let's see you guys later.